The message for today is that God's love for you is pure and unconditional. And some of us maybe don't realize this, and we forget who we are, and we have fears and anxiety, but God tells us not to be anxious and have faith, because this is your Creator. And when we center on this, we could be at peace and be calm. Today I went and met up with my sister and my brother-in-law, and we enjoyed the day. I posted some videos about going out to the springs. We have a freshwater spring here in my area, and it's about 10 miles away. And just met some really cool people. So this is something about encouraging you to go out and connect. If you are ready from what you've been through or what you're going through, then when you are ready, when you feel that courage to put yourself out there, whether it's just going out for some coffee by yourself or meeting up with family members or friends, I feel Spirit is there to encourage you to do that. Today we were having lunch, and I like to talk. I'm a big talker, obviously, or else I wouldn't have this channel. And if you're new to my channel, my name is Leah. My channel is Florida Native, and I do welcome you, and I appreciate you listening, and hopefully you can find some nuggets of wisdom from my experience and from my little adventures that I take you on through this beautiful life and these adventures we have as human beings. And I was talking to my brother-in-law today, and he was just reminding me that life is such a gift. And whenever you feel like you have a difficult situation, which a lot of us go through that throughout our lives, we've gone through some challenges and we were able to overcome these. And a lot of people don't know that about you. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are really close to you, perhaps even your spouse or your partner, your children, your mother, your father, your grandparents, that have dealt with challenges throughout their lives. Maybe you never heard these stories until after they had passed. Some of our grandparents, some of our own parents, to really understand their struggles. And that's really what we're here on earth to do, is to overcome these obstacles and realize that we have that strength and we have that courage inside us. We just have to create the thoughts and the belief in this all-powerful God. And that's what I call it. I call it my God. I call it my Creator, my higher self, the universe, the all-knowing, all-loving Creator that we have. And I hear you guys in my comments. I read all the comments, and I know that a lot of you are struggling. And part of my purpose, and we have many purposes throughout our lives at different ages, and some of us are lucky enough to make it to our 40s and our 50s and our 60s, some of us 70s. My grandmother is 100, she will be 102 years old December 18th. So some of you have grandparents that are still alive, that have all their faculties, that are in good health for their age. And I'm so fortunate to have one grandparent left, and I need to go visit her. And I just, she has a world of wisdom. But some of us maybe didn't have that chance to hear some of the stories that our parents have gone through in their life. And maybe knowing these things, we can understand life a little bit better. But no one really gives us a manual on life. Of course, there are self-development books, and we could listen to other people's stories, but we have to live our life. We have that responsibility to live our own lives and navigate through this world that can be quite challenging at times. I was talking to a girl today, and she was telling me she was our server at this pizza place that we went to, and I won't name her name, but sometimes you could feel the sadness in people. And my brother-in-law, he and we both have that gift, and some of you do too, and we could ignore it, or we could learn more about people and connect with others. Of course, you don't want to be intrusive, but if you have rapport with maybe what you think is total strangers, but in actuality, we are all connected. So in the spiritual world, we all really know each other. And that is a truth, even though you might not have experienced that yet in your life, perhaps you will, and it might be as easy as talking to someone and caring enough to listen to their story. But when your situation is terrible, or maybe you're having some grief, or you've lost a loved one, or you're going through a divorce, and you're battling maybe some chronic illness or a life-threatening illness, and that's part of life. We do get some bad news sometimes, and things that we can't control. Perhaps you are dealing with that, and we go through the emotions. The motions of life. We do what we can. We try to give comfort and help others, and hopefully you are using your time wisely here. We are all learning. We all get frustrated. We all get disappointed in others, the action of others, but know that these are tough lessons that we're here to learn. Now, whether you want to learn that lesson or not, that's always up to you. We get many chances to, and the universe gives us many situations in our lives. But when I was talking to the server, and I could just feel it in her heart that, she's working and very bubbly, but she shared with us how she had just lost her mom last year, and she was with her mom for 3 months when she was sick, and then currently she's living in a hotel with her husband. Well, her husband was basically couldn't work any longer, and he is basically blind from his diabetes, and so she still has so much hope, and she has such a great attitude in her job, and you could feel that, she told us a little bit more about her family situation, and just when you think that you have it bad, or you're having difficulties, and I don't negate that, because everybody struggles at some point in their life, and you can't really know that about others unless you take that time to do it. And sometimes we have things on our plate, and listening to someone else tell their story, sometimes those are lessons, aside from books and movies that we can learn these lessons from, because we have plenty of that, that's fictional. Sometimes it is based on real life stories. People do struggle. So going back to our server, and she was such a, you could see her light, even though it could be dimmed by the difficulties that she's going through, living in a hotel right now. She had stayed with her sister. That didn't work out. Her husband that is blind now and can't work, and had complications from his diabetes. Yet she is out there continuing to fight that battle, and to go through the struggles and the hardships of what life can bring. Now, maybe your situation's not the same. Maybe it's a little bit more difficult, or maybe it's something similar. But she has a lot on her plate, and you could feel that. So it doesn't hurt to maybe say prayers for others that you don't necessarily know, or you don't think you know. We all know each other in the spiritual world, whether you know it or not. But if you can connect in your heart center with others, maybe your words of kindness can help others. So today I want your water. I always talk about water being a healer. And again, the spiritual world that sometimes we're not aware of, and we don't maybe take advantage of what's around us in nature. Nature is such a powerful healer, and it is literally a powerful healer. And God literally loves you unconditionally, and his love, or the universe love, or however you want to call your higher power, your source, the Most High, is in love with you. So more than you can even imagine. And if you have that faith and that trust, and that's really what it's about is having that faith and trust, because God sees everything and he knows your heart. So when you pray for that person that you meet that is struggling so much, and maybe you can help a little bit, maybe you could give a better tip, maybe you could say wise words, maybe you could be compassionate. I'm never telling anybody how to live or what to do, but these are suggestions, because these are the things that actually matter. It's the little things. When I experienced a near-death experience when I was 25, it changed my entire life. It changed how I was and how I moved and how I operated. And I'm not saying that I've lived a perfect life, because when you do experience something like a spiritual experience, in some aspects, when you've been awoken, you're awake to the reality of putting things out there that are positive in life, and being kind, and sharing your love, really, and sharing your energy, because those are the things that really count in the end. Now, we could practice instant gratification. Right now, I'm going to do this right now because that's what makes me feel good, and this is what serves me, and this is how I can get ahead in life. Now, there's nothing wrong with that in some aspects, and I'm not saying anything that's right or wrong, but it's really about the energy that you put out. I was like that, maybe in more of a selfish way. I think we all have gone through that in life, especially when we're in our younger years, teenagers. We don't really appreciate, for those that have grown up in a family where both parents worked, you didn't appreciate the dedication and the work and the time they spent at work to create a life for you, to put food on the table, to put a roof over your head. Now, some people did not grow up that way, and I understand that. This is a general message. This is but everybody's life is different. So perhaps you didn't have that life where you had both parents, and maybe there was struggles. But again, with parenting, no one gets a handbook. There's not a handbook on how to be the perfect parent. Sometimes there's overcompensation, sometimes there's undercompensation. Sometimes you are 100% cared for emotionally and mentally and physically, but maybe there's a lack in another area. Perhaps everything was provided as far as food and clothing and shelter, but when it came to really connecting with your parents or your siblings, maybe there wasn't a connection there. It was all material. And that's how that parent learned how to survive, or that's how they operated. So, and maybe they didn't have that love and care. Now, we don't know, we don't know unless we connect with people, unless you have that opportunity when your grandparents are alive to really sit and ask how their lives were. When I talk with my grandmother at 101 years old, she still recalls the stories when World War II broke out and the Japanese were in the Philippines, and her life was a little chaotic. She had 4 children, my father and 3 daughters, young, and my grandfather was in the U.S. Navy, so he was gone 7 to 10 years at a time, and she was left to basically care for 3 young children up, and he was in and out. And we look at these situations, and I would have never known that her generation, the mothers at that time, can you imagine the fear? They would go up into the mountains hiding from the Japanese soldiers that had come into the Philippines. And this is like, being alive right now and being so fortunate not to ever have war like that come to the United States, come in my lifetime, where they were fleeing their homes to avoid being killed or even worse. So when she tells me these stories, it's very moving, and I know a lot of people have gone through difficult wars. We see wars now, but we see people that have come to the United States because there was more opportunities here, and that was a big push back in the 60s and the 70s, where my whole family had migrated from the Philippines to have a better life for the next generation and the next generation and the next generation. With 4th of July just passing, I really have come to this place in my life, and having traveled a little bit out of so many different countries, I've, over the years, I've gone to the Philippines, I went to Singapore, I went to Malaysia, I went to Vietnam, I went to Romania, I've seen all the Caribbean, went to the Bahamas. I've seen places where it's different. You don't feel the freedoms or the abundance that you have here in this country. So listening to those stories from others, including your family members, perhaps there's a story there to help you along in this journey we have on earth and as humans, and to learn the lessons and to really have compassion for everyone that we come across. There's another situation which I thought was really interesting today, and again, how we know everyone in the spiritual realm. And I was coming out of this restaurant where we were today, and a lady came out and she's like, "Hey, how are you doing?" Gave me a kiss on the cheek, and she's like, "How, we were chit-chatting." Mainly her, because I was a little dumbfounded. I was actually taking a picture. My brother and I were taking a picture of a hawk that was on a electric line, and we had walked out there. And this always happens with him. Like, the strangest things happen with him, which most people would call strange, but it's there's so many synchronicities whenever I'm in his presence and my sister's presence that I should be used to it by now. But a lady today, and she was the sweetest thing. It's almost like I knew her, but she hugged me and gave me a kiss, and she was with her family, and there she was coming out of another restaurant that was next door to the restaurant we were coming out of, and it was as if she knew me. And I give her a hug, and she gave me another kiss on the way to her car. And my brother-in-law had already went back to where we were sitting in front of the restaurant, and we were just about to go check out a spring that was next door. And he's like, "Who was she? How do you know her?" And honestly, she could have been a customer from our persimmon U-Pick farm. I don't know. She obviously knew me. So I was a little dumbfounded, but it was supposed to happen. And you never know when you have these situations. And she was just so warm and loving and genuine. So I didn't want to ask, how do we know each other again? Maybe at some point, if I'm supposed to bump into her again, I will. And perhaps it will be in the fall. So these are just things that, if you put yourself out there and you go out and take advantage of meeting people and connecting people with people and getting over yourself and your stories and your fears. Again, I actually pulled up this little tidbit on anxiety, because we all go through some type of anxiety in our life. And this is actually, and I always want to go back to, things that people can relate with, but this is Isaiah 41:10. It says, "Do not fear, because I am with you. Don't be afraid, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will hold you with any strong, righteous hand." And this is basically God telling us not to be afraid of anything. He promises the strength to go through the things that we struggle with. So often we forget with what faith in God entails. When we understand that God is not just all-powerful, but He loves us more than we can ever imagine, more than we can ever give, and more than we could ever hope to receive from any other. God is the embodiment of love, making the ultimate show of love when He gave His life for our sinful nature to be overcome and forgiven. And that just means that we are never separate from our Creator. I don't know if anybody's watched it. I've been binging on The Chosen right now, and it talks about the life of Jesus. And I know I should be reading about it mainly, but in this day and age, I take advantage of our technology, which is the internet, and some of the beautiful stories that are told through movies and series and books. And some people watch Hallmark shows or watch near-death experience videos or whatever moves you. But I think that God will always give you what you need to know. He will put you in the situations that will serve your highest purpose. So I want to put that out there for you. I'm about to take a spiritual bath. I wanted to share those stories with you if you get a chance. And if you resonate with anything I said, please like, share, subscribe to my channel. Feel free to make any comments. I hope that this video will help you to overcome any fear, any anxiety, any doubt that you are loved and you are stronger than you might realize. And that if you push through your issues and you believe and you keep on going, and when you're on this spiritual path, it doesn't mean that everything is going to be easy and smooth sailing, because we are still humans and we still have to navigate and be that light for others. I hope this provided some type of healing and some type of resonance, and that it could maybe change some of the ideas or your perspective in order to have a little bit more hope in your current situation, a past situation, or any situation that you might experience. Thank you for watching.